Hey guys, can you hear me okay? Okay, we'll get started now. Bear with me, this is not my usual setup, so I may be a little bit slow. Yes, this is church. Crossfire. That's actually not a bad idea. I don't know if that's actually possible, but that would be pretty cool. The idea is that it'll be a zombies level. If only just a test level. I don't know if this will actually be something that's fully functional. I was trying to remember what the shortcut is to cut a reflection probe. It's been a very long time. Is this any better? Awesome, thank you. The ironic truth with the save. Dude, perfect. Thank you. Just saved me a lot of time. Look at that. Yeah, this is just the blockout for now. So I may throw some textures in, but to start with, I'm going to be using just the checker materials, just until we get most of the major shapes in. Sorry, Mad Gas. It's a habit. It's just constantly hitting Control S, saving all the time. It's an old habit from working with United Offensive Radiant, and the Radiant was very unstable back then. It used to crash all the time. So just got into the habit of saving often. Eric, I do work with prefabs, but usually not during the first stages of blockout. Um, I don't know if you noticed, like with the stairs that I just started working on here, I used Funk Group instead of prefab. Just because I don't like to clutter up the folders with prefabs that I may not end up using. So once I'm sure that basic shapes are going to stay and I figure out what's going to repeat, then I can start prefabbing and reusing. Oh, the probe trick. That was something that I'm sorry, who was that made that suggestion earlier? The ironic truth. So what you want to do is you want to drop in a probe, then with the probe selected, you can control left click on any face and it'll snap to that face. And to do the pitched roof, or I'm sorry, ceiling, you would go to, with the probe selected, go to light and convert probe to/from box, and then do the same thing with the control left click, and it'll conform to the faces that you're clicking on. I'm starting to think I'm gonna have to make this church a little bit bigger for what I wanted to build. Still a little bit low? Okay, I'll turn it up. Is this any better? Yeah, I'm sorry. We may, if this is still a little bit low, we may just have to deal with it for this stream. This is my first time using OBS, so I'm not really exactly sure what I'm doing just yet. Sorry for any technical difficulties. Jacob Campbell, you know what? I wish I had the specs in front of me right now. I just built this PC earlier this year. I don't remember all the details. It's got a GTX. Well, I'm sorry. I'm just spacing on what card it is. It's a 1080 Ti. 16 gigs of RAM. Yeah, I think maybe next time I stream, I'll put my PC specs in the video description. Yeah, I wanted to go really high end with this build. The last PC I built, I kind of had to do it on the cheap, and that made upgrading later on troublesome. Oh, you want to see a curved staircase? A straight staircase isn't entertaining enough for you? All right, give me a second to think about how to incorporate a curved staircase. Okay, I think I have an idea. We'll see if it actually works. May take a few tries. And this is why I like to keep everything snapped to the grid for instances like this. Mad gas, usually, it depends on the structure. For something like a church, even though right now I'm using 8, I may bump it out to 16 for outer walls. If the construction is supposed to be something like, like stone or cinder block or something like that. Otherwise, the default I usually stick with is 8. Any tips on arches as the end cap keeps glitching? Yeah, they can do some funny things if the bevel you're trying to cap is not square. Meaning if it's not like 64 by 64 or some, even number, then it can do weird things. Actually, let me finish this up real quick, and then I'll take a look at the arches. So, as I said before, it may take a couple of tries to get this right. While the construction is correct for the spiral staircase, this is way too small. So this was a 64 unit step, and that is not nearly enough. So we're going to have to go probably twice as big for this. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I actually changed my key binding to caps lock for extruding vertices. I just found it easier to just do a single key press instead of having to use both hands to press something like that. So, alright, so basically what I just did there was I had built the stairs at 64 length, and that made it too steep. So what I did was I extruded all of them out from the far left, which will effectively double its size, and creates a row of vertices in the middle. So once they're extruded all the way out to 128, you remove the vertice row in the middle, and then you have doubled the staircase without having to rebuild it. So this is just a trick that I found over the years for doing spiral staircases, is to start with a single curve patch and just turn it into basically a cap of a bevel. The smoother you make it, the more steps you're going to have, which, looking at this now, I probably should have gone one subdivision lower than what I did. There's still quite a few stairs here. But I think it'll be okay for now. The real fun part is trying to clip this, so you have smooth collision walking up and down the stairs. Which, if you guys are interested, I can show you a neat little method for that too. And again, you may have to bear with me on this one. It's been a little while since I've attempted to do this, so it may take me a minute or two to remember how to do everything. So essentially what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to avoid clipping. I'm trying to use adjusting the vertices on the brushes instead of the edges. So with a new function we have in Black Ops 3 Radiant is you can actually select the vertices on a brush. By selecting the brush, press V to display the vertices and control left click on a vert, and then you can use the manipulator handles to adjust it. So yeah, there's two ways you can clip brushes if you did want to cut them. As was said in the chat, you can do control right click, or you can press X to toggle on the clipper tool and then left click to place your dots, and then enter to cut, or shift enter to cut and keep both sides. If you just press enter, it's going to cut clockwise, so it'll get rid of the left side of your cut. Or I'm sorry, the counterclockwise side of your cut. So okay, with this, I've done this wrong again. This may actually take some cutting after all. Nope, that's not it either. Well, okay, clipping the staircase is something I'll probably have to come back to at a later time. I don't want to spend too much time on fine detail like that just yet. So the spiral staircase. I want to take one more look at this. Maybe try to get it a little bit smoother or a little bit better. So you can see here I did one subdivision less, and that gives us 4 stairs instead of 8. So I think I'll try this one. Yeah, I think that looks a little bit better. Although probably not tall enough now that I'm looking at it. That's close. Joe, if you're asking if I could use collision for doing a ramp clip on stairs, I wouldn't. Uh, patches, patches and terrain both have kind of funny effects when it comes to vertical collision. So the issue I'm having here with these vertical, or I'm sorry, this staircase here, the spiral staircase, is the space is a bit small for a spiral staircase. So you're either going to end up with if an extremely dizzying corkscrew effect as you climb up the stairs, um, or I'm going to have to make the church much bigger to accommodate a more appropriately sized spiral staircase. So yeah, I think that was that was much more successful. Going with the larger diameter. 192 instead of what I was doing before, 64, I think. Oops. Okay, so the question is keep the staircase or get rid of it? What do you guys think? Yeah, actually, no, I was thinking this map is pretty much done at this point. I think it's good enough to release. I think I'll hang on to the spiral staircase for now, but I'm not going to use it. At least for the time being. What's my opinion on the box maps and the one room challenges and all that stuff? I think there's room enough for everyone to do their own thing. You know, some people, like some of you guys, want to get more involved and more in depth and make bigger and I don't want to necessarily say better, but you know, more, let's say, in-depth levels. And you know, maybe not everybody has the time to do that, or you know, look, people are playing those maps. You know what I mean? If there was no audience for it, then people wouldn't be doing it. Personally, if I'm looking for a custom map to play, I'm probably not going to check out a one-room challenge or a box map. That's my personal preference. Um, I'm looking for more unique ideas. You know, people are trying things that I've never seen before, or aren't so common. And another thing to consider is you never know what everybody's situation is. A lot of these people could be young, they could still be in school or whatever else, and this is just a hobby that they don't have a lot of time to put into. Um, if you were to go back and take a look at some of the original maps I released years ago, believe me, there's nothing to brag about there. I might be one of those people you guys hate on. Right now I'm just using checker textures. Eventually what I'm going to do is um, so there's a feature called auto caulk that works really well in some cases. The thing is, it has to have a surface to test against. So for example, actually I can show you real quick if I can remember what the shortcut for it is. Okay, so it's Alt-Shift-C. So on this brush, if I select this brush and press Alt-Shift-C, that's actually not what I expected it to do. Unless this is a different feature I'm thinking of. It may be. Oh wow, I did not realize that AutoCalc was a CSG function. Alright, so it's Alt-C. So if I press Alt-C on this, it should do nothing. Okay, so it did nothing. So if I were to duplicate this brush, and then select both, and then do AutoCalc again, what it'll do is it will caulk these two faces in here that are touching each other. It won't caulk anything else because according to what this feature looks at is brush faces that are touching each other that should not be rendering. So I do, what was it, Alt-C? There we go. So the reason I bring this up is if you started building your map not using caulk textures or a caulk texture, and you need to go back and do it later, and let's say you've already done some texturing that you don't want to redo, this is a good place to start. You can select everything and press, what was it, Control Alt C or just Alt C for auto caulk. And that will help get rid of some of those faces that you already had textured. Well, they're saying that it would be useless on big brush related. No, actually, If you're talking about auto caulk, that's the more brushes you have, the more useful it is. Umbra is more efficient than portaling because it can use a lot more smaller objects automatically to occlude. The trade-off there is that because it's looking at so many things to occlude, it takes a very long time, and it can produce a lot more bugs than portaling did. And to answer the question about my toolbar, it's because on the bottom right, I like to have the time, day, and date. So making non-Umbra targets will only work on Geo. There's a certain KVP you have to apply to a model to make Umbra ignore it. Uh, I'm fine with the taskbar the way it is, but thank you. I use 3 monitors. Typically my setup is on my primary monitor right in front of me, I have my grid, and basically everything that you see here on the screen except my camera would be on my second monitor, and that would be full screen on the second monitor. And for the third monitor, I'll use that to put up like reference photos, or um, if I'm watching something while I'm working, I'll have video up on the third monitor. So what I'm doing here is I'm just looking for a way to have some catwalks up here above where the pews normally would be. It's typically better, uh, at least in my opinion, to keep walls as brushes instead of patches. As I said earlier, patches, especially when vertical, can do weird things with collision, and brushes are much more reliable. They're also cheaper in terms of memory and performance as well. Do I ever struggle trying to find textures to suit what I'm trying to do? Sometimes. Sometimes you find, or you have an idea for something you want to do that is very specific, and you just can't find something that matches exactly what you want. In some cases you can fudge it and you can just try to blend. You can find something that's relatively close, and then blend it, or model bash into it to try to make it look a bit more like what you want. But in most cases, unless you're going to make your own texture, you're going to have to settle. Which KVP was it for Umbra? That's a good question. I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time remembering what it was. I'll have to get back to you on that one. Now, you can feel free to ask me that question again on Twitter so it's documented, and I'll remember to answer you, or at least I'll have a means of getting back to you on that. Yes, you can send me a DM on Twitter. Well, oh yeah, if you want to cut the vertices on a well, you would have to do it on a convert it from a curve to a terrain, then select the row and press Control Shift X. That should all be available under the patch dialog. If you go to patch, split, yeah, Control Shift X. Oh yeah, I found that that's really kind of the easiest way for me to figure out how to space things out is if I know how many of each I want to use, is to create, count out how many I want and add two for the sides, create a terrain patch with that many subdivisions in it, and then that evenly spaces them. Just trying to get one good render, and I keep forgetting all the changes I made to the structure to keep adjusting the reflection probe. But yeah, to answer that question, it was Control-Shift-X to split vertices on a terrain patch. Well, alright guys, I think I'm going to stop here for tonight. Thank you all for watching. Hopefully it wasn't too boring. Yeah, okay. 48-hour live stream. Alright guys, well I hope to see you next time. Thank you again for coming. I think I will stream more. This was pretty fun. I have not forgotten. I'm going to end it right now. Alright guys, enjoy the rest of your evening. See you later.